The island of Sodor was in its rainy season. Everywhere was wet, wet, wet. It was cold, slippery, and uncomfortable. The engines didn't much like the rain. All except one. Duck loved charging through the rain with his coach's Allison Mirabelle. He felt the responsibility of his trains deeply during this kind of weather.
Rain or shine, I'll get there on time. That's the Great Western way.
It's ironic that Duck is the one who likes all this water.
What's that supposed to mean?
It just means you're in your natural habitat. Maybe you like to have a swim with Dilly in her pond.
Dilly the duck loved the rain too. She stood out under the awnings and ruffled her feathers for a bath. Donald is Dilly's favorite engine and quacked with delight every time he stopped. She liked Douglas and Oliver too, but she never liked Duck. Perhaps it was jealousy that they both were ducks, but every time Duck stopped at the middle station, Dilly would either stay away from him or hiss rudely until he left with his train. Duck tried to be kind to Dilly, and his crew even offered her food, but to no avail. Eventually, Duck just ignored her, and Dilly did the same. One stormy afternoon, Donald was puffing north with a goods train. He reached the middle station and stopped to let Oliver pass with Isabel and Dulcie. Donald was surprised to not see Dilly anywhere.
I hope she's alright. She's a fierce storm today.
He only traveled about a mile or so before his driver noticed something white beside the track.
Whoa, Donald!
The driver and fireman got down from the footplate and scooped Dilly up.
Hey, yon Dilly's wing is hurt.
They dried her off as best they could near the fireworks. Dilly was happy to be warm, but her wing was limp, and she couldn't flap it at all.
Do we have time to get her some help?
The nearest veterinarian's back in Knapford, but we can't turn around now. These goods are urgent for Arlesdale.
What's wrong?
Donald's crew explained the situation.
Could you take Dilly to Knapford, please?
I'd be glad to, Donald.
Carefully wrapping her in a spare jacket, Donald's driver passed Dilly over to Duck's crew. Duck's crew made Dilly as comfortable as possible. They made a nest for her on a pile of coal near the fire blaze. The fireman offered Dilly a bit of his sandwich, to which she reluctantly nibbled. At last, Duck arrived at Knapford, and his driver whisked Dilly away to the veterinarian. A few days later, an anxious Donald sat at the middle station when...
Dilly!
Just a bad bruise. She's very lucky indeed.
Okay. Thank you, Duck. I don't know what that do without me crackaroo. How can I thank you?
Dilly answered that question for Donald.
Well. Looks like Dilly's all on to you, Duck.
I am glad.
Nowadays, whenever Duck stops at the middle station, Dilly greets him just as she would any other engine. She settles in his cab when she wants to dry off. The driver and fireman also pay their dues to her from their lunch boxes. When no one else was around, Dilly would quack and squawk loud. And sometimes Duck would quack back too.